So I will read the very first paragraph of, I asked Elaine for her bio and she sends me about an 8,000 word essay. And so I'm just going to say, I'm just going to read the very first paragraph. Elaine Ball is a business and marketing evangelist for the global spatial industry and the owner of Elaine Ball Limited and the groundbreaking marketing consultancy. And of course, founder, co-founder and founder of GKiS in the survey. So I truly appreciate you staying up late. As we talked about, it's 11 o'clock at night for you. So we will keep this somewhat short for you, but definitely appreciate your time jumping on and running through a couple quick facts for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I'll do anything for you, Trent. You're just a gold star, you know, so with the support of the GKiS and stuff like that. So hi, everybody. For those that don't know me, I'm Elaine Ball. So Trent kindly asked me, sent me a message, says, would you stay up late? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So my husband and my dogs have gone to bed, and the sheep and the horses and the chickens, but it's fine. Not a problem.
Oh, even the moon's going
to
sleep. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought to kick off, I know that you just did a little overview of bits and bobs. So I thought if we start with GKiS and survey, I don't know if everybody wants to just put their hands up and stuff like how much they know about GKiS and survey and just the history of it and where we started. So if you've heard about it, great. And if there's more people or less people that's known about it, I can give you a little overview of how it began. Yeah.
Oh, Glenn, you got 3.
Okay, right, that's fine.
Well, so, Ryan should be raising his hand, but he's probably on his phone.
Oh, so damn it! I should have had I had a really good video about him talking to little kids about boundary surveys.
See, he's in the car. He's in the car. He told me he's got band camp and he's got horse riding and stuff. He got stuff tonight.
Yeah. Okay. So, so just give you a little bit of background, and when we talk about the market, I've got a few slides in there about what we've been doing and how it all started. But I started, when we started Elaine Ball Limited back in 2013 now, one of the things that, I ended up working with, well, my background's mine surveying and hydrography. That was my dad's side. And it was all manufacturing equipment. We had teams as well, surveyors that we used to send all around the world. And they were also, they did a lot of jobs with the mine surveyors, teaching them how to do proper surveying of cavity scanners and cavities, should I say, and bits and bobs. So when I set up the company, it was all about providing consultancy and resources from a marketing, sales, and business perspective, because that was one of the issues that I had difficulty in when I became managing director of my dad's business. So we manufactured equipment. So if those who know this, I've seen it before. You might have seen it. So Laser Ace, we actually white labeled this over to Trimble, and they've now part of the Trimble, is it Geo 7X? No, not 7X series. I can never remember, but they bolt it to one of the little units. So we did a lot of work with Trimble in the old days. Trimble, the MX2 system, which is now, well, it used to be called Dynascan and stuff like that. So I was always like trying to find sort of new people that could help me within the profession with survey and geospatial solutions. I could never find them. So that's where we founded Elaine Ball Limited. And it was always to provide that service that was lacking, because I spent half the time educating the consultant and I was getting charged a fortune. So I thought, well, this is crazy. So that's it started. In 2017, we got asked by the Survey Association here in the UK if we'd actually provide sort of marketing materials about our business to the AGM. So there's about 300 people going to the AGM. And I said, you know what, we're working with a fabulous cartoonist. Why don't we come up with a poster for the surveyors to give to their kids and so on and so forth. So I just reached out to a few people, raised about 3 or 4 grand and got these posters developed with these little characters and just fun stuff that surveyors get up to. So we had trig points in there, we had a surveyor getting chased by a bull and all sorts of things. So it was all real comical, easy, you know, and like Where's Wally type cartoon style. And that sort of grew legs. We got then approached by Jacobs, and they were like, can we have a few boxes of these things? I was like, sure, take them. And then people were starting to ask us for more and more. So we ended up then coming up with the Antarctica poster. And again, I went back to TopCon actually, because they've done a lot of work in Antarctica. And I just sort of said, can you give us some funds to help us do this? We can come up with the marketing stuff, we'll do all the promotion around it, and just help build the brand of the profession. And it was all free, so the whole point of it was to give back. As long as I covered the cost for the design and print, I could literally just send them out. But I wasn't expecting everybody from all around the world to actually want these posters. And my postage bill in the May 2017 was 1,500 quid. So I was like, if I keep this up, I will go bankrupt, because it is absolutely crazy. So that's when Dave Bennett, who's the managing director of TopCon UK, said to me, Elaine, make it into some kind of charitable arm or business practice. So we came up with a plan, and that's where it's sort of grown. We've actually, our biggest audience is America. The Brits are very reserved and a completely different kettle of fish to the Americans. We find that they're much more, you guys are much more like, let's do it, let's get on with it, go for it, which is more my attitude. So when I come along to the Brits and the UK, it's like, come on guys, they're like, whoa, let me think about it, let me have a cup of tea, so to say. Not being derogatory with them, because some of them have been amazing people for us, but it's interesting when you start working with the different cultures around the world and actually how people do stuff. So I've put on the board here on the screen just to give you a bit of an overview of where we actually are at. Now these stats have actually changed, because I think we've just gone over the 60,000 poster mark globally, with probably about 60% of that in the States, which has been amazing. So Tim Birch actually contacted me, it was about, I think, 2018, and he sort of said, would you like to collaborate on this? We're looking at doing something with NSPS and all the other associations. So we were like, yeah, sure, because we're a small little business of 4 people, 5 people, and it was like, right, yeah, how can we sort of grow this? So the stats are just getting better and better. We're producing a lot of content. We can produce a lot more content. So you've probably been familiar, you've seen Trent's been absolutely fantastic with promoting GKiS and Survey, as well as a lot of the other guys, but also with the comic. I mean, Trent, thank you so much for reprinting loads of comics and sending them out. For those who haven't got a comic, I definitely get one off Trent if you can, or you can order one on our website. And it also includes my dad, who is the last surveyor in there in his man cave. So we actually have him. I think he's secretly happy that he's in there, but he sort of just laughs at me. But anyways, so moving forwards, we've got a lot to do. I was at Geospatial Geobusiness last week in London, and they're still talking about it here in the UK. What to do? What are we going to do to get people into the profession? I will talk about the Geospatial Marketing Academy later on, but we have now signed up Dublin University, which is quite ironic, to help them with their marketing. So they've actually signed up for our academy to actually learn the processes of how they can market within Geospatial and within the survey profession. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how they get on. We've also signed up a lady called Alison Watson. If you don't know her, look her up on LinkedIn. She has a company called Class of Your Own. Trent, I think you've linked up with Alison already, haven't you? Yeah.
I think so. I was just getting ready to look. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alison Watson, yeah, she's got the survey curriculum into schools at the age of 15, 16. She has got I can't remember how many schools she's got, like 100 schools globally. She got into the couple in the States, but it's been a little bit more tricky. And now she's I've put her in touch with Trent and David Acosta as well, just so she can get at a local level, because it takes that pushing at the local level as well as the higher up, you know, from a bigger picture perspective. So we're working with her closer now. So we did 2 panel discussions last week, and those panel discussions were about how we're going to go about it. I did get approached by a couple of people who said to me, why are you not actually going straight into schools? And I said, well, if you know anything about marketing communications or running a business, one of the best pieces of advice that you can do is actually niche down or have a speciality. So I know I have got no experience in the world of education, and I knew, well, how can I get the word out there and use my skills as a marketeer within the profession and within geospatial as an industry or a sector. So I thought there's millions of surveyors all around the world. There's loads and loads, millions probably, as well as manufacturer software houses that are in the sector. So we'll start there and we'll build. And that's how we'll do it. And the surveyors at a local level will go into schools, they will share stuff online, they will spread the word. So we can only do it a small part at a time, but that is one of the things that we can do. We can't try and do everything, because then it just gets diluted. We had a conversation with the Geography Association here in the UK, just because it was local. And the lady who headed up geography, so she looks after all the teachers and the curriculum for geography subjects. And she actually said to me and Ellie, you make this sound exciting. I thought, we're knackered if you're in charge of the Geography Association. So now that's just one area of education. So I thought, right, okay, I can't control what they do, but with the passion of all the surveyors and the sector, the industry, I thought this is how we will do it. So for those who don't know, we have 2 sort of key areas. The first area from a local level is the brand ambassadors. So we have, actually I can show you one here. So we have, this map has got to get updated yet because we've got so many people to add to it. So you can start seeing where the spread of ambassadors are. We actually do have South America as well there now, but we have like the brand ambassadors all over the place. Now I sort of look at it as 2 areas. One is the top-down approach, so where we go out to the industry, geospatial, and we get sponsorship from larger companies with bigger budgets. Saying that, we've got a lot of actually one-man band survey teams who've actually then sponsored us as well. But we can do it from a big picture then, taking it out to the masses. But where the impact it actually goes is at local level. So for example, we've got people in Africa, we've got a guy in Morocco who does so much at a local level. We would never actually get in there from a marketing brand point of view, because why would we go there? It's tiny. But this guy loves his job. He loves what he does. And he just phoned us up one day. He says, can I get some stickers or pencils I can hand out to kids in these places? I'm like, sure, why not? I says, and this is where the development of the brand ambassadors came from. So these guys are actually going out. So we decided, okay, well, let's do this and let's set up a presentation for them so they can go into schools and, show what they do. They can change some of the slides around, but they've got some of these resources that they can use to actually communicate to local level. So anybody can get involved. It's totally free. Plans for the future. I'm trying at the moment, I'm working with 2 or 3 big companies to try and get sponsorship money to back up the content creation. But from a brand perspective, brand ambassador perspective, let me know what you want at a local level. So we've got the presentations and we've got like logos and bits and bobs, but if there's specific things that you think this would be really good that we can provide you with content wise, then let us know. So we have a lot of resources on the website as it is at the moment. Now, Matt, who he takes So any of the sponsors that have sponsored before, we always have like a Q&A at the bottom of the posters. So Matt, who is actually a primary school teacher based out of Manchester, he's actually been amazing and come up with all these lessons, these fun lesson plans, just at primary school level, because it's aged between like 12 years and under. It's going to load. So he's actually helped with the curriculum. Now we know that here in the UK especially, and it'll be the same everywhere else, you have to have specific content that matches the government regulations for use in schools. So that's not going to load. Okay. You can have a look on here anyway. So there's some real fun things. Find where Loch Ness is and how big Loch Ness is and all that sort of stuff. So we've got some really cool lesson plans, bits and bobs that we can have that, which is totally free, so you can download it. Now, what's really interesting after last week being at GeoBusiness is that RICS, R-I-C-S, which is a very, very large organisation if you haven't heard of them. They're actually global, but their main aim is the UK. They mainly look after building surveyors than land survey, but they are now very, very traditional survey place. They've actually now got on board and go, oh, I see that you're sticking around. So we'd like to help. Oh, brilliant. You could have done this about 3 or 4 years ago. Anyways, so it's quite interesting from a political standpoint. It's like, put your politics aside. I call it bolitics, you know, a bit of bollocks and politics together. Just put them aside and let's, you know, like, what can we do with this? So these resources are what we're producing. So one of the things I want to do moving forward with the brand ambassadors is to support you guys in anything that you can do at a local level. So if you think specific lesson plans or types of lesson plans would be really useful, then let me know, because this is all great for us to go back to the sponsorship. And we're looking to probably raise maybe $3,000-4,000 approximate dollars per month as retainer that then we can send out and get written, have content specific for everybody, and also then make it more localized as well. So as you probably noticed, if you've read the comic, it's probably very English and got lots of English spellings in there. So I know what little kids will say, this is spelled wrong, you spelled color wrong, you know, but stuff like that. So it's so we can produce it better for localizations. That is the key thing from a brand ambassador perspective. Do you have any questions about the brand ambassadors?
Question back to the content too, like what's the plans for the posters? Is there continuing the posters, or are you doing, is the last one coming out?
So the last one's done. We've actually, so a bit of a plan with those. We've finalized on the 20 collectible posters, and there's a ton of content. We've got lesson plans with each poster, and of course, questions and answers. So we can build on that. So the plan now is to get reprints, sponsorship of reprints, where anybody who becomes a sponsor, so we have the, I think Erin's put the packages up online actually, I can put it on here. So the plan with the sponsorship is to regurgitate all these posters, these amazing posters, and anybody who then sponsors the posters, here we go, yeah, she's put it on here. Okay. So anybody who then wants to print the posters, they will get their name, their badge put on there. So for example, this one, 5,000 prints, your logo will be put on it, and then we'll do a write-up on that person and that company, because we are running out of posters very fast, as you can imagine. So we have the NSPS ship locally for the States side, if you call it locally, and then of course we've got the task force in Australia shipping, and then ICES here in the UK ships out to Europe. I was approached by the Germans last week if we can produce them in German, and we've had this a few times actually, and that's another ball game where we need to look at funding. So again, going back to the profession, go back to the industry to actually figure out how we can actually keep these things going without making it too stressful and too much. So it's all about simplicity, and then backing it up with the lesson plans and stuff like that. So we've got ideas on more content around the posters specifically.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
did anybody have questions on her brand ambassador part of that? You wanted to chime in about? Nobody? Quiet.
Oh, my tea's gone cold.
Oh, no.
Talking too much. So the main thing with the when I started the GetKids stuff, I was really hesitant to make it into a business on its own because it's something that I wanted to give back, but to grow it, it needs funding. And we've raised about where's my little diagram gone now? We've raised over 300 grand in sponsorship, so it's about $400,000 US, $350,000 US on the sponsorship. That all that money has gone back into producing the content, so that doesn't go towards our wage and stuff like that. We keep that as a separate thing. Longer term, we'll probably see if we can segment it off into charity and see what we can a formalized charity. So it's more, I mean, we're pretty open anyway. So anybody that wants to ask us specific questions, we would do that. But it's like, it was a moral dilemma for me when we first turned it into a business arm, because I was just like, I'm going to ask people for money. That's going to be put back in. Yes, it's for the sector, the industry, the profession, but also it's money that I've got in my pocket. So it was like a moral dilemma. How do I handle this? So I had this conversation with Dave Bennett actually at TopCon, like, what do I do with this? And it was quite a hard thing to actually then develop. So I had to sort of put the emotion aside and said, right, what can I do with this? And how can I keep putting back and investing? Because the whole point of it is to grow the profession. It's to get people interested and like all the cool things we actually do, and not just land survey, you know, mine survey. I mean, I used to work with blasting engineers. They're not surveyors, they're blasting engineers, but they still need to know the rock face geometry. They need to know the inclination of the holes, how much explosive to use. You know, it's still part of it. So it's like, how can I raise this awareness? So that was one of the sort of moral dilemmas I had when we first started it.
Yeah, that's the turning it over to, you know, what would be for America, a nonprofit type thing. That would be great.
Yeah.
Because you can turn it into continue to take sponsorships, right, for scholarships and that kind of stuff. So that'd be great.
Yeah. And we've been asked about things like, you know, with the scholarships and stuff like that, because one of the things that we've been looking into is Khan Academy. I don't know if you've seen Khan Academy, where a guy actually, I don't know if it started off in India or something, but he was an Indian guy who he was good at maths or something, and then he started recording videos and he put them on YouTube, and it was for his family. And then he's like, oh, his friends got all of it, and the friends' families, and like, can you produce it? And it ended up being Khan Academy, K-A-H-N, I think it is. Okay. So we looked at that, and they have things like people give them money, and there's all sorts of really cool things that they do. And I thought, that is really interesting. Can we do that for us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's evolving a lot. So they're the two main things. One is the brand ambassadors, how we can support you at a local level. And then of course the sponsor, the reprints, we just need money to reprint. And that's one of the biggest costs actually. So yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, yes. I'll blast when we do a follow-up email, I'll blast all that stuff out too.
Yeah. So yeah, so you know, if you've got any questions specific, you think, well, this is really interesting. We're also working with a PR agency now, hence the 8,000 word document that you probably got from them, but who's absolutely brilliant. We've worked with them for a year now, and we started working with them to test them out for a customer, and they're actually really nice. We like to keep things simple. So one of the things that we want to do is actually put that back and make it so when they write to broadsheets, the press, and also our industry publications, that it comes across, you know, what's happening, what we're doing. So we have plans for lots more the publications. One of the companies that's been amazing has been National Geographic for Kids here in the UK and in Australia and New Zealand. We looked at doing stuff in America. It was $20,000 to advertise on one page in the National Geographic for Kids America.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so it was about £1,500 for the UK, but we've got such a good relationship with these guys now. They do a lot of free press for us, which is great. But I don't think I can sort of stomach 20 grand for one page poster on GKiS and Survey. Not yet, anyway, not yet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, I mean, the circulation's massive. It'll be something like 400,000 or plus. Could be 1 million, who knows? But I remember looking into it and it was quite a shocker, really. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I have a question.
Go for it, Adrian.
Have you guys thought about other mediums like yard signs, like political yard signs? You could use the image and just post it in front of your house or business with the QR code.
Got you. So for the America market, that's something we could think about doing. Yeah, it would only be America.
You guys don't have yard signs like that?
No, we don't do it here. We're not allowed.
Oh.
Yeah, same with, I think Australia probably much the same. Europe definitely. Yeah, if you put something up, you have to get planning permission. Yeah.
Is that why Rick's is so big in Europe?
I don't know why. I think Rick's must stem back from very, very old times. I don't know the history so much. I just see them, and this is probably very wrong. I'm probably being very sort of generalized here, but I saw them very much as a building survey profession. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it seems like from the posts I see of people doing the work.
Yeah. So like James Cavana, I'm working with him at the moment at Rick's, and you'll probably see Marion Ellis. She's got a Love Surveying podcast. Hers is very much focused at building survey, which is fine. And so it's quite interesting, but I've never gone into that sort of area. But yeah. Oh, okay. I'm pleased that they're now on the radar. We're on their radar, should I say. We'll see.
That's great.
See how it goes.
Before I go to you, Ryan, real quick. So I'm actually in Fort Wayne, Indiana with Nolan, and they have a window clean that comes for that they can. Yeah, I know it's not really showing up very well, but they have a little window clean that goes in that they can put on their front window. So, so something like that you can probably do. But I'll have them scan it so we can kind of do something. Then you throw that QR code on there, Adrian. That could work. So
that would be really good. QR code on. So like window stickers, you could put them on cars and stuff.
Yeah, and that's even just a window. That's even just a cling too, so you can pull it in and off. Yeah.
Yeah, because Topodot did a load of those guys at the just ones for the stickers for the bumper stickers.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Got it. Perfect.
Look at them. Yeah. Now we could get away with them here. We'll get them away with them all over the globe, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Go for it, Swingley.
Stuff. Yeah, go on, Ryan.
Hey, Elaine, how we doing?
All right, thanks. How are you?
Living the dream. Hey, I knew at one time you guys were discussing an app or a video game or virtual reality, something. Did that ever take off or get anywhere?
Yeah, so I went and spoke to Seven Partnership, again, UK company, just because I know Nick. He has a company part of Seven Partnership called Seeable, and it's all about turning things into augmented reality, really. And we actually spent some money to actually make Ginger into a sort of this augmented reality kind of gal, which was awesome. But we sort of need a lot more money to continue with it. So that is something that is in the works. We've got it on the plan. We've also got gaming stuff. Carlson Software came up to us last week as well about gaming. So there's some fun stuff coming out with what they're up to. So it's been discussed. I think we need to think about the revenue or how we're going to fund it to move it forwards. I've got a couple of contacts with Lego just through my marketing side, which I've been speaking to, trying to get in with those guys, or Minecraft or something. That would be the bees and E's, or as I told you, Ryan, the dog's bollocks.
Yeah. Now, the $20,000 for National Geographic Kids, is that a one-time, one magazine deal, or is that a series of magazines?
No, when we looked at it, it was before lockdown actually. When we were in the States actually for Topa.user conference, we looked into it then, and it was a one-off cost for a one-page ad. So it's probably more now. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that is our target audience for children, because they're interested in science, they're interested in maths and history, and they're interested in that and geography side. So we've just pushed the UK and Australia and New Zealand, one because the costs were a lot lower, and now we've got good relationships with them. So I think if it'll probably go back to relationship building again, which we're pretty good at, but it just takes time. So if anybody's got relationships with National Geographic, that would be really good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the unfortunate, which I'm sure you'll talk about it on the marketing side of things, but right, how many times does somebody need to see that one page ad, right, over and over and over?
Yeah.
So at 20 grand for one pop is not enough eyeballs to do anything. So yeah, I can see where it's a little more beneficial for the other ones, but
yeah.
I mean, the positive side of a one-off, and those magazines they stay in schools, it seems like, forever. So there's opportunities, but I agree, it's such a high expense for one magazine. If it was we got that for the year, I'm sure we could come up with the funding, but for one-off, it's just hard to stomach.
Yep.
Yeah, correct. And I think something like that would be, I mean, National Geographic for kids here and Australia, New Zealand has been awesome. And we've done competitions. We did a competition a few years back now for National Geographic. It was just UK. Oh no, it was Primary Times actually. So it was a local school magazine, and we did North Yorkshire printed, and we did UK. I think it was like 30,000 circulation online, and we gave away 5 smartwatches, which had like Spider-Man on, and all those fun characters. And the response was unbelievable. Kids had to design a survey tool or profession, something that they were up to. So they had to go and research what a surveyor did. Anytime we gave them a list of like types of jobs, go and find out what they are, do some research. And they were just unbelievable. I mean, we had little kids who were 5, they drew a boat and bathymetry system and, little sonar. It was like unbelievable. And then when we gave out, it was really difficult. I got my dad to help me choose who to have. It was really hard to choose because I could give them all something. We gave them some stickers and stuff. But then the response when the winners actually got something was just incredible. Because you didn't know who you were sending it to. And, some of these kids, it was more than they actually got for Christmas. And we were like, whoa, okay, a $70 watch, which is a lot for a child. From a poor area in Glasgow, for example, it was a bit of a wow moment. So, there's things like that we could do, and that didn't cost us a lot of money. I think we bought 6 or 7 watches and put that back in, and it got them all excited. So, going back to stuff like that, I mean, you guys must have local magazines for the schools. Getting hold of those publications and letting us know who they are, so our PR team can then reach out to them. Stuff like that. I mean, Primary Times being one of the examples here. But I mean, we did the same thing as well in National Geographic.
One of the big national ones too, that the kids, it's all hidden pictures, which is highlights. That could be yeah. So we still get it we had it for our kids, and we still already got it for our grandkids. So yeah, now highlights is a good one, and that's a big, massive publication type thing. So.
Yeah.
So it was Scholastic.
Oh yeah, Scholastic. Yeah. Go for it, Kent. And then I also saw Peter jumped on, so I wanted to point out Peter's on.
Hey, Elaine, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Doing great. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Can't really see you, but it's fine. You're somewhere there.
It's me. Hey, real quick, I'm sorry, I got on here late, but are you doing much like on TikTok right now?
Nope. No, sticking with Instagram at the moment. No, it's something that, so there's so many mediums that you can actually go for. And I know Robert Martin was surveying with Robert, started using TikTok and playing with it. It's hilarious, which just cracks me up. I am very much stick to a couple of different mediums. We will probably look at going into some of the other ones like TikTok. Erin's more than happy to do it, but it's trying to keep our focus consistently. So when you do any types of marketing, keeping it consistent on 1 or 2 platforms. The whole main thing is getting it onto our own platform, our website, because I'm always skeptical and thinking, don't always grow your audience on rented property. So quite a lot of the big marketing gurus that I follow, they all say the same thing. So that's sound advice, but yeah, no, it's something that we will probably look at doing, keeping an eye on it anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was reading this article the other day, and of their like billions of users, and I'm pulling up a graph right now, from between the ages of 10 and 19, that makes up 32.5% of their users. Ages 20 to 29 makes up another 30%. And then it's a big drop off. Ages between 30 and 39 is 16%, 40 and 49, 13%, and then 50 plus 7%. So obviously a younger crowd is really gravitated to TikTok.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that's happening in the marketing industry at the moment is YouTube, owned by Google, is going after the Facebook space. So we are keeping a very close eye on that. Janelle might have some things to comment on the Facebook side. She's very familiar with that sort of medium, but we're keeping a close eye on video content at the moment and how people are using it. So, and that's one of the things that we're gravitating over to more and more with the marketing side.
Another thing, recently I did a presentation to a select group of high school students from an alternative high school, like an advanced high school, I guess, something like that. Did a presentation about land surveying. And the one thing they brought up that they would like to see that I didn't present is a video of like a day in the life of a surveyor and what that actually looks like. And I thought that was a great idea and something I never really thought of. But again, it kind of goes back to the whole, TikTok thing and everything else. I mean, whether it be Instagram Live, Facebook, whatever, video is such an important media. And like I personally am going to put some effort into, putting a short video together of what a typical day might look like. And it might, who knows if it'll attract more people or maybe somebody who wasn't attracted otherwise, but I just thought I'd throw that out there.
So on that same note, Kent, I had hired somebody last fall, and he did a whole bunch of research leading into it. And when we sat down for the interview, I said, so you've done a ton of research. What is there anything that was missing? And that he said the exact same thing. I'd like to know what a surveyor does throughout the day, right? And so, that is something I'm actually going to be working on as well, is trying to create one that talks about like the field side of things and the office side of things. And so we're on the same path there, Kent.
Let's work on that together. Okay.
Yep.
That's good. So if you guys don't know, this is a great name for a surveyor, Lee Landman. Slugsy 100, if you don't know Slugsy, based in South Africa. His brother is a videographer as well, so I think that's where he's got a lot of his techniques from. But he really goes crazy on the video side. He's got a lot of followers. So I definitely, stuff that he does, it makes surveying really cool when you see what he else. And a lot of it's construction sites, so it's quite interesting. I mean, he's got some right stories that he can share. So him and also surveying with Robert Martin, both fab people to. There's another guy, is it Aaron, university guy. He's just popped up on YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got a big YouTube channel. His name is that
Rami? You talking about Rami or no?
Rami, that's it. Him. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, awesome, brilliant. So the more people that are actually doing it, it's collecting all these people and pulling it together. Not necessarily reinvent the wheel, just pull these guys together and say, right, how can we collaborate and pull all this together to share what's happening? And that's another big thing that I'd definitely push.
And then Peter's been putting a couple things in chat about the TikTok. It's the third highest learning platform in Australia, and more females use TikTok and the males use YouTube.
What's she doing? She's supposed to be training.
I know. I love it that she's on though. That's awesome.
Snuck on there. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, it's something we've a couple of people have asked us about it before, but it's, yeah, there's only so many things that we can actually push. And if we get that and people want it, we will. And yeah, and if there's more and more kids looking at that, maybe that is a medium that we need to go down the route of. But it's for me, as a business owner with the consultancy side as well, it's where do I put my resources and focus it well, so if there's somebody doing it already, I'm more than happy to push it, so if you guys are jumping onto that, even better, so we can pull resources there, because one of the things, I can't do everything, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest thing, that we all need to collaborate for sure. Go for it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask, do you have any metrics of what's effective and what's not? Are you keeping track of that kind of stuff?
What do you mean specifically? With number of kids going into places or stats, that sort of thing?
I know you talked about some event that you had with the watches and stuff, so that might be like a type of metric where you could I guess gauge how effective what you're doing, how it's reaching the kids, how much response you're getting from them, stuff like that. If you notice some things are more effective than others.
Yeah, it's going back to the resource and what you guys surveyors. So with our primary audience is the profession. So that's our number one audience, and their children. Then it's because a couple of people said to me, Elaine, why are you not just pushing straight to education? I'm like, I can't do it all. And I know the big side that Alison has. She's got her curriculum into schools. It's been signed off by the government. So she actually officially doesn't own the curriculum anymore, even though she runs it as a business. There's a lot of loophole, a lot of things that she has to jump into to actually get going. So I know how hard that is from the education standpoint. From a marketing standpoint of view, there are some of the more stats that we probably need to hone in on. So when we're doing the press stuff, I mean, for example, we hired the press company last year, and they're collecting all the mentions through PR Newswire and some other mediums that they use from a PR perspective to keep monitoring that and collecting that together. And then, of course, working with the institutions like ICES, NSPS, and pulling that together. But again, it's like, what specific things is important for you guys that we can then develop on? Because I could just go, I'll get one of those and I'll get some of those, and then stats good. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Thanks.
Yeah. So if there's anything, if there's things like, like what you just said with the watch and stuff like that, if that's something that you think, oh, well, that's really good. I mean, we just test it out. We just threw it out there. And a lot of marketing campaigns that we do, we like test the water with, let's see what happens. And then sometimes we'll repeat that. So we've done, I think, the watch thing 2 or 3 times, and that worked really well because it was like really good. But could we do that in Africa? Probably not. It's probably too advanced in some of the areas in Africa, for example. And then certain places in the States, what would work better? So again, it's going back to that local level where the brand ambassadors, you see, that's where we need to get the feedback from the brand ambassadors. So if we can support the brand ambassadors through funding, we can then produce more content and stuff for them at a local level. So if you say like window stickers look really good, can you produce window stickers that we can then get printed locally and have brand guidelines on how to print them? Yeah, we'll do that. And then if you think, right, we want to do competitions, can you write us some campaigns on how to do competitions in the local press? Right, we'll do that for the state side. Or if it's California versus Texas, are they 2 different states? Will they have 2 different audiences? How will kids react in Texas versus California? So if we have the funding, then we can customize the campaigns.
Definitely. One other thing that I should mention, in where I'm from, the school district has put out this brochure for summer camps, and one of the camps was a UAV drone, program. So I'm going to reach out to whoever runs the program just to talk to the person who does the UAV to maybe incorporate. I don't know if they're surveying related or just like focus, on totally something else, but just to like nudge, like, put that idea of surveying as a career for UAV or whatever they're offering to. I know to like create one of those programs, you got to have a lot of people or someone, and develop it. So I'm not there yet, but at least I'll try to reach out and ask them if they could include surveying related stuff.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that, again, I was asked about last week was the Scouts. And I don't know what they call them now. Do they still have brownies? I don't know. Do we
Boy
have
Scouts?
No, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. I don't know what they call them.
Yeah, they're Boy Scouts here.
So that's another area, and I'm sure somebody said to me that used to get a surveying badge. So we need to tap into like the Boy Scouts, and whoever can tap into that and get that lead and could look after that lead. Perfect. If we could then get funding to support that, that would be great if we could bring that surveying badge back.
Yeah, it's pretty semi-popular in my area. I know there's some YSN folks that are really into the surveying badge. I don't know their names off the top of my head, but there are people that are passionate about the surveying badge. But
the summer camps and stuff in America, that's brilliant. Could we tap into more of that? If you've got a contact there, let us know. Like that's other little avenues that we can get into and tap into.
Yeah, they're starting to pop up a little bit. Go for it, Kent.
That is Ryan.
Oh,
I
sorry.
was gonna say, we've kind of taken the mentality in Indiana is if you build it, they will come. And they've never proven us wrong. We implemented a Boy Scout surveying merit badge program. We had naysayers, people like, you'll never get anyone to participate. And what they'd always done in the past was approach a chapter or a scout troop and say, hey, if you guys are interested in doing the surveying merit badge, we'll do it for you. Well, they never took them up on it. So we changed the dynamic. We set up a permanent course at our camp in Indianapolis. And we said on this date, at this time, we're providing the surveying merit badge instruction. And we filled up every time.
Yeah.
Same thing with, we have a surveying camp going on this summer, the first one at Vincennes University for high school freshmen to seniors. It's a 3-day camp down at Vincennes University. They get their hands on equipment. We put it together with the idea that we might have a few people show up, and we're full. We're full. So if you get out there and you do things and you provide opportunities, I guarantee you people will show up.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. That's great stuff. But again, you can see it if each and one of you guys have got guys and girls who've got links with just even one person. That's all it takes. It's not masses and masses of effort. You can put in as much effort as you like, but it's like those connections and linking that and pulling that all back, and then how we can then develop that. That's what's going to make an impact globally. Because all I hear, just from last week, all I hear is just people talking about it. And one of the panel discussions I was on, it was about walking the walk, talking the talk and walking the walk, actually doing it. Who's actually doing it? And my response was, quite a lot of the Americans are actually doing it. And I said, I'm sorry, but you guys, there's only a few of you guys actually, I know, are doing it here in the UK. What are you guys doing? You're all moaning about it, but that's all I hear is it's like, what are you actually doing? And then we had a flood of people come to our stand and like, right, how can I get involved? What can I do? Blah, blah, blah. Perfect. Just go to your school or tap into the Scouts or, stuff like that, we can get back to us and then develop it and build on it. So that's all it's about, building and developing. That ultimate goal is to get people going, yeah, do you remember that comic book? And wasn't her dad in it or something? There's a bit of a story behind that. Yeah, and this is how you put cities together and how you build roads, and you need a guy that does the survey of the road and the DTM and needs to figure it all out and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bing.
And it goes back, to the point where you're creating the content too. And that's kind of what we've chatted about. So Tim Murphy's on here as well. We're with NSPS Workforce Development, where creating the content so that people have it readily available and feel comfortable and to go out and present it. And so
Absolutely.
somebody's got to create the content for sure. And then we can, once that's created. So kind of what you talked about there. Go for it. Kent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Elaine, I think I may have asked you the same question when we had you on the podcast, which was probably over a year ago at this point. And the answer, I'm assuming, probably changes as the Get Kids Into Survey movement continues to grow. But I'm curious, like in a perfect world, what does the Get Kids Into Survey life cycle look like? So you've got this really great thing going with Get Kids Into Survey. It's getting a lot of traction. It's great for the younger kids. But what's the next step? How do we got them into survey, but how do we keep them into survey?
Yeah, that is a really good question. And that's one that I keep mulling over with different people. And it goes back to culture of the businesses. So now that you probably have some of the same issues in different states, but for example, just using our local market here, there is a massive shortage of surveyors, and it's nothing new, it's just getting a lot worse. HS2 came to see me last week and he said, Elaine, I need your help. And I said, sure, what do you want? And he says, I've got to recruit 400 surveyors in the next 5 months for HS2. And I was like, you're never going to get that, because there's all these survey companies in the UK that are looking for surveyors. You need to pair up with these guys. So they need to think different. I said, you need to pair up and subcontract. No, we can't do that. Well, if you think like that, then your attitude stinks. I'm sorry. You need to work with the profession. And one of the things that one of my clients actually said to me was, I'm going to have to stop promoting my staff online, Elaine, because HS2 are coming and poaching and tripling their salary, and they're going. And they have a lovely culture already. So there's another thing in the mix there. You might have a good culture, which is wonderful, and which we need to grow on that. But some people are jumping ship, because why not? If they can get, instead of getting 30 grand, they can get 80 grand as a salary package or more, pounds wise, it'd be 100, 120, whatever it is, dollars. That's going to entice few people, because that's their family, isn't it? They're going to support their families. So
yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, Elaine. And that actually just happened to me not too long ago, where somebody poached, one of my people and paid him literally 30% higher than what they probably should be getting paid. Good for him, good for that person. That's life-changing money for him, but it's not sustainable, for one thing.
Right.
And the other thing is, as company owners and people that are in a position to affect the culture of the companies we work for, that's the biggest challenge right now. I totally agree. And maybe we're getting off topic here, but we have to separate ourselves in a different way besides just money. What makes our company great besides a paycheck?
Yeah.
You guys, you got to know where your bread's buttered. While it may be painful now for salaries to be elevated, that's what's going to draw people to this market. That's what is going to get people's attention. I present in, I live in a pretty well-to-do community. And when I go to, a lot of the students here, their parents are doctors and lawyers. When I go talking about surveyor salary, they get turned off immediately. If I go to rural Indiana and talk about salary, they get turned on very quickly. So the rising tide lifts all boats. And if we want more people, rising tide of our salaries is going to have to be part of that discussion.
Agree. Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I have something to add real quick on the life cycle of starting in the schools young to get them interested, and then how to go full circle. I have 2 points on that. David Acosta and John Gallegos at CSTI there in New Mexico. David is head of the NSPS chapter there for New Mexico. And he's actually done a really fantastic job. He's one of the adjunct professors there at the engineering school there in New Mexico. And one thing he actively works on doing is talking to the engineering students and actually getting engineering students to shift over to surveyors, because engineering is kind of the sexier job that people think of first, because they're not fully educated and aware of what surveyors do. And that goes back to those videos of what's a day in the life like of a surveyor. And that's something that's actually a pretty common issue that I've seen throughout the industry is people don't know how to do public outreach and communicate what they do in a really approachable way that everybody can understand and get excited about. So that's one way that you can do is actually outreaching to kids from the engineering front to pull them over and say surveyors are just as important and it's just as cool of a job as an engineer, if not more so, and then start to educate them on why and pull them over. And then the second point that I have that might be looking into worthwhile for the drafting kind of side of things is I was at a talk here in Idaho, and we have a large manufacturing area here. And one of the problems a lot of factories have is they can't find machine operators and some of the more skilled trades within a factory operation. So what the Department of Labor in the United States at the federal level has done is they've created these kind of trade mentorship programs that start in high school, and it's a 2-year program, and they can actually train on site for a job and have a Department of Labor kind of certificate at the end of it. And they talked about the development of that program, and the Department of Labor said, this is open for any trade that wants to develop it. And we will work with them at the state level as well as the federal level to develop that curriculum. And it's OSHA certified, everything like that. So you don't have to worry about it. So that could be where you get people into drafting and more of the non-licensed part of it to get them to further continue their education later on.
Yeah, it's good points. Really good points, Janelle.
That's awesome.
A lot to do, guys. A lot to do.
Yeah, no,
we're on it. We're all on it.
I'm laughing that we haven't even got to the marketing side yet. We're already at an hour, and everybody's starting to jump on because they were coming on at the normal 4 o'clock time. Sean, before I go to Ryan, Sean, did you have something? You had your hand up. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Hi, Elaine. I just had a question about how you kind of reach out to high school / like tech students. I attended a kind of a gathering of high school students, tech students about 2 years ago. And they were looking into all different kinds of trades. And what we kept on hearing from the students was surveying isn't flashy. It doesn't interest me. So there was probably about 1,000 students there. So what kind of strategy do you use to target these kids?
So our main strategy, if you missed the first bit I was on about, is we work with the surveyors. So we're working with the geospatial sector, the industry as a global thing. So manufacturers and businesses, and then we're working directly with surveyors. So keeping it very, very much focused, what you guys want, and then it's then at a local level up to the surveyor or the company going into schools, because that's another ball game. You know, how do we divert our resources or our focus? Do we push it straight into schools and bypass that because we can't do it all together and do it well? So this is why I focus predominantly on the profession. So if you want to do that, you can help me.
That's a tall order.
I know.
I love it. Go for it, Swingley, and then Ken.
Yeah, I was just going to add what Janelle said. I mean, I really liked everything she said. And I think one of the things that makes taking engineering students from an engineering program and moving them into surveying, what makes that effective is the pay levels have increased to the point where it's now attractive. You know, when I got into the profession, you know, I came out of school making $30,000 now, you know, $30,000 a year. Then average engineering student was probably making 45. So that's quite a disparity. And it's hard to make someone say, hey, we want to send you out. We're going to put you in the mud with snakes and chiggers and mosquitoes. Bears are going to be chasing you. And guess what? We're going to pay you $15,000 less than you would be if you were sitting in the office. That's a tough sell. But we bring the pay up to level, and if we talk about all those things as if it's an adventure, now we got a whole different ballgame. And then as far as the last gentleman speaking about surveying's not flashy, I'll tell you what we've done in Indiana is I'm a mobile LiDAR guy. So we instantaneously take our mobile LiDAR scanner to any school that will let us. I usually will scan the school, show them what that data looks like on the screen. If we have a UAV, if we have a static scanner, there are certain things about the profession that really adhere to what I call the video game generation.
Yeah.
And we talk to them about those things. Now, the realities are not everyone in the profession is doing those things, but you hope you spark enough interest that they continue to look into it. And there's certainly aspects of the profession that are not as techy that are still as attractive to people. So you got to use the flash to get in, and then you know, everything else will hopefully fall in its place. And to be honest with you, you hope to capture at every school you go to, you hope to capture one kid's attention. That's the reality. And I know that's daunting to think about talking to this many kids and capturing one person's attention, but that's what it takes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Go for it, Kent.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that, you know, some really, really good points. But one of the things we also need to think about, in my opinion, and no offense to anybody on this call, including myself, is whoever we decide to be the face, you know, for our local jurisdiction or whatever, that person ideally is a younger person with some awesome passion that is able to relate to a younger generation versus, you know, I'm put myself in this category, the 55, 60-year-old person that's, you know, winding down their career per se, that typically isn't as passionate. Yes, you have to have the younger generation and the older generation, but right now, these kids, their attention spans are so short that it's important that whoever is doing the presentation is engaging and is very positive and presents everything that surveying is in a way that, as Ryan said, you know, grabs and keeps people's attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we talked about with the YSN is getting them there, or even younger than, you know, some of the YSN, because they're the ones that the kids can relate to, because they're, you know, less than 10 years out of high school, and they were just barely sitting in that same seat that they were a few years ago, and look kind of where they've gone with a career and a profession. So yeah, it's a good point. Go for it, Swindler.
I mean,
oh, sorry.
I mean, I definitely agree with what Kent's saying, but this is a symbiotic relationship between the old timers and the young timers, because, you know, I live in a huge community and I work for a large company. There ain't a soul around here that know me and know I'm a surveyor. But if I live in a small community and I'm the only surveyor in that community, and I have an office on town square, there's a picture of success there, a pillar of the community that people have gravitated to and trust. That's our connection into localized connections that we can then bring those young people in. In Indiana, we have county surveyors. There's 92 counties in the state of Indiana, and I think for the most part, all counties have them. Now, not all of them are licensed surveyors, but at a minimum, a county surveyor calls up a school, they got a better chance than me cold calling that school and getting in there. So we got to bring both the old and the new, local relationships and the flashy stuff together.
You still wearing your t-shirt?
Absolutely, every chance I can.
You're absolutely spot on, and this is why I can see the vision with the brand ambassadors. So I need to work on revenue streams on how to support brand ambassadors. If we can build a massive brand ambassador network all over the world where you're all interlinked with each other at a local level, that you can tap in with your skill and your local knowledge, that is what is going to help. So that's just a few little things just popped into my head there, and it's just making it stronger and stronger the more you guys say stuff like this. And I think we need to capitalize on this at a local level, and how we can then support it from GetKids perspective is using our marketing skills to go out and get the revenue, bring in the sales, so we can support then the funding, so you guys can be supported at your local levels. That's the only way we can do it.
For sure. Yep.
Unless, what's his name? Musk can give me loads of money.
We got to find somebody, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. So it's, you know, past midnight at night for you at the moment. Do you want to
I'm awake.
Just do it. I know you want to just do another 10-minute overview just on kind of the marketing side of things, the second part.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
way.
So I will. You can actually go onto the website. So let me just show you the website first, so you can actually. Because I'll talk a little bit about this. Can't see because that thing's in the way. Hold on a minute. That's moving.
We could talk for hours on Get Kids into Survey on a round.
Yeah,
table.
no, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go onto my website main page and click on case study geospatial survey, this is pretty much this presentation, which I delivered again at GeoBusiness last week. So it just taps on a few things. And there's a few things I'm actually going to tweak, because the feedback I've got over the last few weeks is not about increasing sales necessarily, it's about your inquiry quality. And when I was on with Brian and Ryan, when I did the Indiana professional surveyors presentation, the workshop, it was quite interesting when I went out and sat on these different groups, and quite a lot of them said, oh yeah, we've got plenty of work, Elaine, you know, we don't need any more work, too much. And when I asked the question, which you guys can tell me now, is how profitable is that work? So some of the things that we tap into with the Geospatial Marketing Academy is looking at that proven process and how you develop that. Now, you've already heard me talking today about specializing in, we call it niching down, but focusing on an element. And this is why the shiny object syndrome of TikTok or other cool things, Snapchat, which Erin's massively into, is I could divert my resources and go off into these areas. But is that wise for me? Because one of the key things is keeping things consistent. So we tapped into these things, and some of these things that, as a survey owner, as a business, is looking at how you would develop that profitable line of customers. And one of the things that is quite interesting when you tap into these different companies is you're running around like a headless chicken. And, you know, and there's lots of people that pop into my mind at the moment who are like, oh, shiny object, laser scanning, UAVs, blah, 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 going over here. Oh, I want to do all this. And it's actually then thinking, okay, right, I need to slow down here, pull myself back, and, you know, looking at what I need to develop my business to improve it in the future. So, you know, I've used the cartoon side of here. You know, you might be you're a survey owner, you're managing your staff. There's a guy headed off in the pickup. He's gone down a road, and not necessarily maybe in the States, and you know, bumped his wheels on the curbs, definitely here in the UK, or gone under a small bridge. And then you've got disaster because your equipment's been damaged or stolen or stuff like that. So there's all these things that surveyors are, you know, pulling their hair out, as well as the geospatial businesses. So, you know, marketing might not necessarily be your cup of tea, and you actually crave that light bulb moment where you're like, please, when this shit actually does happen, things actually start to work and we're starting to get in these profitable customers, instead of actually attracting any old person to come to our business because we're desperate to get the work. We've got the work in, and we're inundated with the work, but is it profitable work? You know, scratching your head on that target audience. So again, going back to that target audience. And then you're feeling, especially the marketing people within the business, they might not necessarily having marketing managers within survey companies, depending on how big you are, but actually those people doing some of the marketing communications, and actually, yeah, feel actually you're doing a good job with some of the campaigns and things that you're actually putting in place. So, you know, one of the things that I come across a lot of the time is actually that joining up of the marketing, what actually marketing is generating for you, what money you're actually spending to then generate that profitable sales lead that then turns into that profitable customer. So it's linking those things together. And from a manufacturer's point of view, there's a complete disconnect, which is quite interesting. Whereas with the surveyors, there is more connection because the company's a lot more tight knit. There's less people than the bigger organizations. So it's making sure that when that fits in, it's automated process. So yeah, as you can see, I've used lots of crazy pictures of me doing things. But one of the things that also comes out all the time is, especially from the larger the business, the sales perspective is then, you know, the salespeople are knocking down the door because they know the value in the content they're actually producing. So one of the things that, you know, thinking about is, are you attracting that right audience with the content? And most of the time, 90% of the time, you're actually in the buying journey when it comes to content production. So unfortunately, lots of people's skills are unutilized and looking at that. So we call this, there's no real plan. It's not really consistent. Trying to even focus on the right stuff is hard work because you're running a survey company. And when you get that hot lead, you know, it boils down to the price. So one of the things here in the UK is price wars. And I know I've heard this quite a few times in the States. You know, such and such Joe Blog survey down the road has stolen some business because they've actually undercut everybody. So it's that chicken egg. And the question back to you guys, are you still seeing that in your areas?
Unfortunately, even as busy as everybody is, and you know, 5, 6, 8 weeks out, whatever the case might be. Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's still happening, and Nolan's over here shaking his head. So, and he's in the Indiana area, right? So,
yeah. So it's that profit margin. You know, it's like, how can you develop it? And then we've talked about earlier, you know, it's the culture of these businesses, you know, and if the cultures are undercutting, how is that reflected on the staff? You know, looking at the staff side. So of course you don't want to be the cheapest, because you have trained staff, education to pay for, tools, equipment, robots, all that sort of thing. One of the other things as well with marketing is you don't always know what is actually making you the money. And that's another big thing that is not changed in the 25 years I've been in business. I'm only 25, really, honestly. So it's like, what is working? What is that? And we tend to find that depending on, again, the businesses, but when times are hard, and they will come again, things get slashed, and it's usually marketing that gets cut because they don't know how to measure it. And from a marketeer's perspective, or somebody doing the marketing, or you as a business owner, you should know exactly what marketing is generating what. And this is one of the things that we talk about. So it's all about that GPS going to the gold. You know, have you got the right GPS that's getting you to that gold? So multitasking. So what we say is geospatial business with a predictable system for increasing sales quickly. And it's all about enhancing that inquiry quality. So they can say this, they're focused on the right tools for the job. Now, actually, I briefly chatted about me at the start. So for those who have just jumped on, I'm Elaine Ball. I'm a bit of a crazy sheep girl. So you might see some crazy sheep things on my, I'm in the middle of shearing at the moment. So lucky I only have 15 sheep and not 150 like we had a few years ago. I ride horses, and I'm a bit of an amateur triathlete. And Trent's going to get back into triathlons, aren't you, Trent? So my dad, so this is actually Chris Stuttle, one of the guys that used to work for my dad. So we had Quarryman, which Carlson Software now still sell. So that was a rock-based geometry, till very basic. There's loads of stories that I could go on to with that. Leica wanted to buy it off us because we had a massive monopoly on the market globally. And my dad let him have it. It went to Switzerland, and the Leica guys couldn't believe how simple it was. So, you know, they were like, oh, we can't even compete. They were selling it for theirs for like 30, 40,000, and ours was 18,000. It wasn't because we were undercutting them. It's because blast engineers didn't need the complexity. It's like buying a Porsche car versus buying a Land Rover. So it was all about the tools for the market. So that's my dad in the 70s, and he's a mine surveyor and hydrographer, started off career land surveying. You'll probably see in the MX2 Dynascan. So we rebadged that to Trimble in 2012 now, so before we sold the business. And if anybody has come across the G2S Surveyor, which was the head-mounted laser system, we had that. And it's quite interesting, Trimble's come up with something very similar now, but we produced that I think it was around 97, 98. We used to draw it on fag packets and, you know, cigarette packets and napkins and stuff like that. So I think I've still got quite a few of these napkins in boxes of cool technology. So my dad was always coming out with really cool stuff. So again, for those who attended SPA, this got a lot of laughs last week because there's a lot of people in there that attended GeoBusiness last week. I don't know if you guys know Brad Husak, who now works for, I think he works for Carlson now, actually. I have to double check that, he'll kill me for saying that. There's a few familiar faces there. They're all looking a bit young and a bit slim as well, including my dad. So this was 2008, something like that, 2007. Yeah, and I was managing director when I was 27. My dad moved me into the MD's role, which was quite a shock to the system, really. And going back to the story I told you at the beginning, I was very conscious of being in the family bubble. So I was always going out to different industries, attending different exhibitions, completely out of what we did, just so I could bring back stuff and ideas. And I was always ending up training the consultants, which was just crazy. It was ludicrous. So that's why Elaine Ball Limited actually started. So as a team, my sister's on the right, Ellie, we drag her in for bits and bobs, and she's also SketchUp. She's a lot of SketchUp and AutoCAD all over the place. So she works with different people. And then my other team, Sarah on the left, so she'll be the one who gets the money off you guys. And if you're doing anything sponsorship wise, and Bella, operation director, on the left hand side to me, and then Erin, who is an absolute gem. It was my horse physio who recommended her. She did a geography degree, never heard of survey, which is shocking. I think she said she had like 2 weeks of GIS training in her whole 4-year degree. So she ended up then coming to work for me. I said, is she any good at social media? She's got 10,000 followers on her Instagram page. I'm like, right, I'll have you, thank you very much. So she came to work for us. So there's 3 things I can share with you today, and you can take away, which again, you can look at that case study. Biggest mistakes geospatial businesses are making about winning customers. There's 3 things that successful geospatial organizations have that the struggles do not. And there's 4 proven tips that I can share with you to go through that. How are we for time, Trent?
You're good. Yeah, typically we run, as long as you want. It's midnight for you, so you do your thing.
I'm on a high. I haven't got whiskey in this or rum or whatever.
You do your thing. No.
Okay, so these are the exact same things that I've used to grow my own business, GKiS and Survey, and help lots of other businesses. So it's all about improving their sales and marketing processes and how they can actually streamline those. It's about learning, enhancing, and implementing what works in industry, so in the profession. So all the stuff that I have learned over the years, implemented, gone out and studied, I've brought back and tested it. So it was in the MDL days, and then working with Trimble, Whipware up in Canada, working for measuring rocks on conveyor belts, very trendy, I loved it. So all these sort of things, and then of course with the Geospatial Marketing Academy that we launched last year, which I'll tell you a little bit about later. And of course it's growing that profit margin. You know, how can you run your business and look at those key elements? And again, I think I'm going to bring in another one, which is then attracting the right staff members and keeping those staff members. If you're a geospatial business, survey business, you know, looking to have a predictable way to increase sales quickly by enhancing that inquiry quality, then you're going to love what I've got to share, really. So the top 3 categories of people I work with: marketing managers of product-based businesses that are selling tools and software that might have an academic-based background, and some years doing the role of marketing and implementing what works, the salesy side of how they attract those customers. Then it's marketeers, or those doing marketing with little marketing or industry knowledge, and just want a proven system, a proven process that they know that works, that speeds up that learning curve, because that's another big thing. I mean, the amount of years I took to learn on the job, go out to market, go with the customer and find out it's actually bringing that in-house and showing them, and you know, what you can actually do. And those doing the marketing in service-based businesses and survey companies. So we work again with surveyor owners, but we also work with those administrators that have been tasked with you know, can you build things? And it's not just the colouring in department as it used to get called, you know, produce me a leaflet. It's more than that. It's actually making it more strategic. So these are just some of the customers that we've worked for. With Elaine Ball Limited, we started off as a marketing consultancy, and we provided workshops and consultancy. So I worked with Trimble pretty much off straight out, and Whipware up in Canada. And it was mainly to focus and build on their marketing strategy, and then also how that implements on the doing side. Then it went into, we ended up doing quite a lot of retainer work, working with Janelle Dean and Hannah Cottrell over here in the Netherlands to actually implement what works. And then now it's the geospatial marketing. We still do the consultancy, but it's actually teaching you guys how to fish, not actually providing you with a fish. Some people still need to have the just do it for me type thing, which is absolutely perfect. And we still do a little bit of that. Janelle does that as well, and so does Hannah. But it's also teaching you what works. My whole mission is about up-leveling the entire geospatial industry, but the profession, survey profession, so you all become knowledgeable, so it up-levels everybody. So that is my ultimate thing. So the biggest mistakes, these keep coming round and round, and I keep thinking of more and more, but it's like the top ones that actually pop up. The audience, you'll hear me talk about this all the time. It's attracting that quality audience. You know, instead of just sending out content pieces or stuff on LinkedIn, it's actually attracting that right audience. And these guys who are doing it wrong, they are not attracting that quality audience. So they're throwing loads of money, loads of dollars at it, and it's actually not sticking, or it's doing bits. You might, a few wins here, a few wins there. Content is not differentiated from Joe Blogs down the road. And I find this all over the place globally, that people steal other people's ideas. Now, Steve Jobs did steal a lot of ideas, and he did very, very well. It's how you then improve on those ideas and how you can capitalize on it and make those better. But actually, you know, there's a lot of copycats who do the same thing. So then everybody looks the same. So how can you differentiate you to the guy down the road? And it's like, why are you better? Because actually, they're all the same. No, they're not. So you'll have expertise, you know, which the other guy down the road doesn't, but your customer or your prospect has no idea. Of course, not educating the marketing department properly. We see this all the time, you know, they don't know what to do. They're actually staying in the office quite a lot of the time. They don't actually go out in the field. They don't actually sit with the customer and actually download the information. Converting those quality leads into calls and onto sales, there's a huge disconnect there in lots of ways. And then getting that consistent flow of leads. So when you go to bed at night time, like I will be in an hour's time, I'll probably still be buzzing, but anyway, and wake up in the morning and actually, wow, there's stuff coming in my inbox and they're really good. This guy's really hot. We really want him as a customer, you know, and like he's come to us. And then of course, not building their email lists and missing out. So they're building on rented property, which is nothing wrong with rented property. And what I mean by that is LinkedIn, Instagram, you know, you're building your followers, which is great, wonderful, but it's all about getting them onto your own platform. So you're building those email lists, and that's a big hole that people are just not doing. They're nurturing those guys. So a couple of customers here that I want to share with you. Polly Hopkins, she's my beta tester in the Geospatial Marketing Academy. She's administrator of Storm Geomatics, family-run business. Her husband's the owner. There are about 25 staff, and they're very, very specialized on river survey. And what they one of the things that she's finding is how they communicate at a public level. So for example, they get tasked with things like monitoring the riverbeds. And then you think, well, why actually do they monitor the riverbeds? And when you dig deeper, for example, they've ended up working with, it's not even a charity, but a government organization for eel migration. And why would I want to know about eel migration? How do I communicate? How do you communicate to that target audience? You just wouldn't know, would you? So this is the content thing. So she wants to know, how does she produce content and marketing plans strategically that she can attract that type of customers. And you bet you're thinking, why eel migration? Well, man-made river chambers, holes, things, what they're putting in the rivers, blockages, is stopping them the eel migration, for example. And then of course it's disappearing. So they have to monitor the river to actually see where, you know, if they can improve on it. So she started implementing a year ago now with GMA, and within a few months she had a £15,000 contract, which is part of a subcontract deal. So she's like, this is great, this is really good, this is what we want. Leven, he's one of the guys, he actually made us all chuckle. He was posting consistently on LinkedIn and ended up getting a €20,000 scanning job. He's like, he'd text me on Messenger on Instagram saying, shit, Elaine, this stuff works. I got a job. So things like this, it's like he's starting to think, okay, this is good. What can I do more of the same that's going to attract this type of customer to me? And then, of course, we've got Andra. She's also a support technician for Topodot based out of Romania. So she looks after Europe for Topodot's support. But she has a company called 90 Degrees Outsourcing. So she does a lot of point cloud processing as her own business. And she started the Geospatial Marketing Academy a few months back, and she's already grown 62% in her growth, which is like, I can't believe this. And this is through content production, which I'm going to share with you. So there's 3 things that you need to focus on. Firstly, focusing on the right audience. Number 1, you know, who exactly is the buyer? Who influences that buyer? So, you know, that's another thing that you need to think about. Where do they hang out? What keeps them up at night? And, you know, don't go off course. You know, are you laser focused at that type of customer? If you think, I want more of this guy, he pays well, he's profitable, I like working with them. Right, how do I get more of those guys? Next, they have a predictable system of attracting and converting high quality traffic. So they're actually put in place what works for them. They know that if they do X, Y, Z, these are the results that are going to happen. The other thing as well is, again, what I've briefly touched on with GetKids is being consistent. So they're actually consistently producing and focusing on a platform. So if you think of your funnel like this, and your top of the funnel from a digital marketing perspective of your social media platforms, not spreading yourself too thin. So, you know, for us, we focus purely on LinkedIn because our major audience is on LinkedIn, but we also have a lot of fun on Instagram. So if you do follow me on Instagram, we do a lot more crazy things on there. But again, we have those 2 areas, and the same with the GetKids. And who knows, we might venture into TikTok. So, and finally, they have a proven system that turns their traffic into paying customers. So they have a system that's step by step that comes into it. So, you know, where do you start? So many things to think about. You know, where do I find these customers? Where do they hang out? What socials do they use? What content when? It's just like, Elaine, where do I even begin with all this? It's exhausting. So I have 4 steps to give you that you can take away today and think about. So get your pen and paper out and write these down that you can implement. So 4 key things: understand who your audience actually is, and don't just think about your audience, actually really think about specifically the key points of that particular customer that you want to attract. Spend time with that customer and unpick the details. So again, I'm going to talk about this. It's like acting like a journalist, and you think, oh, I haven't got time for that. I need to go and do this work. Okay, that's fine. Stay where you are. But if you want to grow or develop that profit margin, then these are some of the things that you need to think about. Plot content along the customer journey. Now, I talk about the customer journey a lot with my students, or members as we call them. And then of course is the action element. So understanding the audience, it's all about who you're talking to and who you're communicating that specific message. It sounds simple. It's far from simple, but it's actually just managing, you know, which applications after, what projects they're after, and actually homing in on it. And that includes the buyers themselves. So who influences that particular buyer? So again, if you're at a local level and you think, I want to get into golf courses, I've had this conversation with a guy over in Australia. You know, he wanted to get into golf courses. And he thought, I've just done one job in a golf course. It's not fluke. You actually probably influenced the person. How did you initially get in? Oh, well, I knew the architect, and the surveyor who was supposed to do the job couldn't do the job. So he asked me, right, now you're in. Now you have that little door. That little door's open. Now what do you do with it? So it's what problems do they face? You know, think about that specifically, and not just the problem that you see. So for example, take utility surveys, which I've got a little bit of a topic on here. If there's a flood in a construction site or on site, and you think, oh, well, we've flooded it, you know, we've busted the pipe, blah, blah, blah. But that's not actually the problem. The problem is because you didn't do the survey of where those utilities were located in the first place. So actually it's working backwards, re-engineering, going back in the problem. So if the problem was actually the flood, what actually caused that flood? It's like, makes me laugh because my friend retrained, she was a chemical engineer, and at first she decided to quit her job and start as a doctor. Well, if you met my friend Alex, you would laugh your head off because she's very blunt, she's very Yorkshire. God knows how she's going to continue being a GP, but she's pretty good at it, except from she's very blunt. So she had a lady who came in who's got a knee problem. And she says, well, if you actually lost some weight, you're too fat, you wouldn't need to have a knee operation. Now, being British, we have to be very correct. But you can see her underlying problem is not her knee, it's the weight she's carrying for that knee. So it's thinking about things like that. So what keeps that customer up at night? You know, where does the buyer think about deep down in their subconscious? So it's almost putting yourself in the customer's shoes and thinking, okay, what is that? What is my problem? If I'm the customer, what is keeping me up at night that I need to think about? And this is when we come to it, this is what we've got to think about from a marketing, especially strategic marketing point of view. Do they have common issues? You know, what things do they say? You know, what does it sound like? What does it look like? That sort of thing. And it's all about understanding that audience massively. Now, there's a stat, if you look up CEB Forrester Research, they've done a stat that 74% of B2B buyers have done their research on a surveyor, could be a surveyor, before they even approach you. So how are you attracting them to your website, to you, and not Joe Blow surveys down the road? So let that just sit there, because when you think about it like that, you think about yourself when you're looking to do something new. You go and do a bit of research, don't you? You might ask your friends, you might phone somebody up, do a bit more research online. You look around. If it's you're trying to fix something or do something, you go onto YouTube. This is why Robert Martin's doing really well, because how do I set up, you know, the MX2, the MX9? How do I do it? What do I do? So they go online and look at it. So that's one thing to have a think about. Now, spending time with the customer. So Erin, when Erin started with us, she had no survey experience at all, and I was very shocked to hear that not much in the geography degree. So we sent her off with Tritex surveyors in North Yorkshire, who were very accommodating, and we actually stuck her out in the field. And I said, go and find out, go and hang out with them, and have two trains of thought. And this was from our perspective. So I said, I want you to think about you selling them equipment. What are the problems they're trying to solve that you would want to know as a manufacturer, as a seller of these tools? And then, Erin, I want you to think about, right, now you're the surveyor, what problem are you solving for that customer that you could take back? So it's understanding that particular problem that you can then take back to use in your marketing and things like that to look at. So quick checklist: hang out with the customer, watch what they do, listen, big thing, understand the ins and outs, ask questions, you know, and record it. And don't worry so much. People worry about, oh, well, you know, it's very, you know, secure. We're not supposed to tell her who the customer is or the location. You don't need to show it. CSTI, David Costa and John are amazing. If you watch their stories, they are awesome when it comes to content. They're sharing stuff. This is the problem. Look what's happened. Sticking it on stories and sharing actually the issue, not who the customer is. You know they're on site somewhere, but actually to that end user, to that customer, that's actually building trust. in what they do. So like, oh, utility surveys. Okay, I'm going to go to these guys because they know their shit. So it's gold. Yeah. So send, you know, if it's your marketing person, your administrator, you go out in the field and spend time with that customer and just unpick it. It drives me crazy. I'm just like, it's a day, just do it. So again, I talk about the full customer journey. So there's two parts to this customer journey. Most of you guys will actually be in the buying journey when it comes to your marketing and your content specifically. So you're talking, you think people know what you do. We do laser scanning. Yeah, so what? So does Joe down the road. We do UAVs, you know, we work with rivers. So what? It's not doing it for me. So, but that's where most people are when it comes to their marketing communications, their content marketing, as we call it. Where this is a golden nugget, and there's very few, actually, there's a couple of people, one being Microdrones is very, very good. So if you go onto Microdrones' website, and it's not a plug for Microdrones, but Mike has done an absolute phenomenal job when it comes to content and putting questions in there from the pre-buying journey. So actually going back and thinking, starting with the problem, what is the problem that the customer doesn't know he has yet? So thinking about that flooded construction site, the problem is actually the undetected, there's no as-built survey of those utilities. They don't know where they are. So the underlying problem is somebody's put them in years ago and forgotten about them. So the underlying problem. So what content could you actually produce in your marketing side from it? So thinking about that customer journey. So plot the content out along that customer journey. So again, to get that high converting traffic, that right type of customer, it's speaking that same language and stressing that importance, those specific groups of people. So again, focused approach. So plotting content along that customer journey. So I use this diagram quite a bit, again, in the Geospatial Marketing Academy, just so you can visualize it. So it makes it easy for our brains to think about, oh my God, where do I even begin with this? This is so complicated. I haven't got time. I need to go out and do this job. Okay. So if you want to grow and learn and develop your business, become that profitable survey business, it's understanding this workflow. Now, we know that the customer journey is not, you're not in a specific direction. It's all over the place. You might dive in, dive out, go to someone else, come back again. But it's having specific piece of content along that journey that triggers certain notions, or we call it touch points in marketing speak, that then they come back to you. They might go away again, but they come back again. So it's along that customer journey of what they're specifically looking at. And again, most of you guys are in the buying journey when it comes to content. So you might selling a specific service and they've gone on there and looked. But if you've not got any backup content that talks about the specific issue that it's addressing, why should they actually choose you? Okay. So I use these guys actually. This guy, Michael, had actually produced some really good content on LinkedIn. I went, hey, Michael, please can I borrow this? It's really good. And he actually, he's like, yeah, sure, Elaine, that's not a problem. So these guys are based in Florida. They're subsurface utility surveyors. And he had done a post about looking at the utilities itself. And also, I mean, he was talking about a couple 100-year-old streets. Now, depending on where you are in the world, depending on where you are in the state, you know, it depends on how old these streets actually are. And they've got secrets, as he said in his post. And, you know, where do you even begin to even attract that type of customer that's going to come to you that you know is profitable? So these guys know their audience, same with CSTI, they know who their audience actually is, but how do then you attract that type of customer? So again, from a content perspective, and again, you can do this on a flip chart, okay? So you could actually write down the problem, sit with your team. If it's you on your own, sit with yourself, or phone a friend or a customer and write down the problems from start to finish. So looking at like old streets, tons of history, you know, residents might be twitchy. And we talked about this with like the river surveyors at Storm Geomatics, you know, public getting mad. I bet you come across that a few times. So things like, you know, what could I address there? Years of continuous construction, need for traditional utilities, locating and understanding of utilities that could be there, and then how to solve that problem, finding that utility of the history, etc. So on the right hand side then I've just come up with different types of content. Now with content, you can regurgitate old content. You don't have to keep producing new stuff all the time. You can go back, right, old streets with tons of history. Okay, 10 things to consider when working with 200-year-old streets. Now, you might not necessarily talk about you selling your service, but you're talking about the problem that you're considering, 10 things to consider. Now, what that's doing is, as people research and look or share the article, or if it's a PR piece, they come to you. Oh, this is really interesting. Yeah, okay, 10 things to consider what I need to do. Okay, this is interesting. Let me go a bit more. So how one company tackled a 200-year-old street, that could be a case study, or it could be just sharing some experiences, it could be a video. And then how to understand the history of street scenes when modernizing. You don't have to talk about surveying in depth. It can be just specific little points or little things that you want to share. 8 tools you can use for detecting underground utilities. Again, it's looking at that, what will attract that person within that customer journey, that pre-buying journey, to come and land on your website, to then ask you some questions, phone you up, delve a little bit harder. And then no history of street scenes, no problems. Here's what we did at DGT, the guys in Florida. So again, we just take that content and it's like, right, okay, how do I play with this? Okay, let's stick it in the customer journey. And you can actually then just visualize it and see how that fits. And if you produce it, I mean, you could go out on site and record a little video of just what the guys are doing. Okay. We were talking about this earlier, actually the day in the life of a surveyor, taking that video, using rev.com, transcribing that video into an hour's worth of content, right? Then you suddenly got a massive piece of content that you can use for social posts, top of funnel, more in-depth piece of content, because as they come through that buying journey, they're wanting to know more information, more in depth. So top of funnel, short little piece of content, short videos. When they're coming into that buying journey, they're wanting to know more. Actually, okay, I want to know how this works. What are you going to do with this? How can I do that? Can I speak to someone? Blah, 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 social proof. So this is what I meant by producing great content, and it's answering those questions along that customer journey. So now that you have the audience's attention, so this was me at GeoBusiness quite a few years ago, and I went around in a cake because I just wanted people to go, who's that crazy lady who's got geospatial marketing on her cape? What is she all about? I like to spice things up a little bit. And then of course, the main thing is the action. When you're depending on where you are in that customer journey and who you're trying to focus on, if it's new people who've never heard of you, who you want to attract, what action should you be taking? Not necessarily join our webinar or phone up for a quote. That's too cold. They want to dig around. Remember that 74%. So use different trig points to actually get them. So for example, at the start of the journey, you've gone through a pipe on a construction site. Okay, these are the 10 things that you need to consider if you do that. You need to contact this guy, you need to contact the local council, you need to do this, whatever. Oh, that's really interesting. That then could trigger, could be a piece of content, could be a video, it could be a short piece of written content that they can then click on to take them to the next stage. Find out more. So, when you go onto Google and you come across an article that you're reading, and in that article there's links, you sometimes click on those links. Like Harvard Business Review is really good for that. Teases you and then you have to pay for it. God damn it. But you click on there and you're like, right, that's really interesting. I want to know more about that. Click, click. It's taking you through touch points in that journey. So this is what we need to do as geospatial professionals. So, I've been committed to helping groups of people be the smartest, sharpest people in industry. And this is what I'm all about. It's about up-leveling these things, improving their sales and marketing processes, learning, enhancing, and implementing what actually works. And I take everything that I hear and see, test it, put it back in. And this is what we've done with our retainer customers. This is what we've done with GMA. And it's quite interesting now seeing this actually happening. People actually putting that back in and then coming back to me like, okay, I've done this right now. How do I do that? Well, try this. Okay, I'll try this. And so on and so forth. And of course, growing that profit margin, which is a key thing. So it's all about keeping your head on, guys. Keep your head on. Focus on your stuff. You don't want to be a headless chicken. So, so if you're looking for improving your geospatial business, your survey company, you know, it's and to be known in the market for what you do, because you know you are the best at what you do. You know, that is a key thing. Know what content went in that customer journey that keeps sales consistent and keeps that high quality sales coming in. And you might be a low quality sales guy, and that is fine as well. But it's like keeping that consistent focus, reducing your workload for automating for your systems and knowing what makes money for you. And then of course, converting those hot leads into hot customers, then you're in the right place. So without going into too much salesy, pitchy stuff, there are 3 things that clients that we work with that they do. So those that want to grow their brand, be seen and get there, those who want a proven process of content creation, and those who want a consistent flow of quality leads. So who is it for? As I mentioned earlier, owners of small survey firms who are in business and making ad hoc sales, administrators and those doing the marketing with the survey firms who are not in the marketing or have proven methodology, marketeers of manufacturers, resellers of survey equipment, directors who know that they're good, but they need to sharpen those marketing to sales processes. Who I don't work with, so people are not serious about growing their business. If that's not your goal, then you don't need me. That's fine. If you want to stay where you are, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You know, people are wanting to enhance that. I've gone from 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, £1 million months, right? How do I get that next stages? People who talk the talk but don't actually walk the walk. So yeah, we want to do this. I hear this a few times on discovery calls, and it's very interesting. Yeah, we're going to do that. But you see them about 5 years later, you'll know these types of people, and you think, you're still the same. Why are you still the same? And you've talked all this stuff. People who are not serious about establishing a great marketing arm in sync with their sales. So it's all about that linkage, and then folks not interested in learning what works best for the geospatial industry. So of course, I've used GeoGinger here in this to take action. So would you like to have a little looky at GMA? Shall I show you it? Have you got time? Have we still got time? Or am I still allowed to keep talking?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, that's fine. Yep. So now we have, if you go on to Elaine Ball website, there is actually a blog post, what is the Geospatial Market Academy? And it's, I think it's about 20 minutes. It just talks you through the academy itself. But the Geospatial Marketing Academy is a 10-week program, and it takes you through the foundations of marketing, setting the right goals, the roadmap to success, looking at the specifics of that customer themselves, understanding that client. So we help you focus by showing you what you need to do. We're not going to give you a fish and there you go, feed yourself for one day. We're going to teach you how to do it. But it's hands-on. So we're not just giving you the academic stuff. You can read that any day you want. You can just, you know, read it up on Harvard Business Review or whatever. But we actually show you what's actually worked for surveyors and equipment professionals, equipment manufacturers. So understanding the customers. We touch a little bit on market research fundamentals, building a brand. We look at the brand itself and understanding that geospatial brand. Now, the kings of branding, definitely Trent, Diamondback Surveyors, awesome brand stuff. Brand presence is superb. So great stuff on there. We dive into the hot topic of content marketing. So we teach you everything from the full customer journey. We dive into it. We start with the buying journey because you're familiar with that already. And then we look at how you attract people outside who don't necessarily know who you are, how you find stuff. How you find those people. So we take you through that specific journey itself, which is a real key thing. So these lessons are between 10 minutes, 15 minutes to right through to an hour, and they dive into the details. Janelle takes you into campaign planning, targeted campaign planning. So those don't know Janelle Dean, I've known Janelle for quite some years now. Janelle, So she worked with her family business, Electronic Data Solutions in Idaho. So she worked with Trimble Equipment, Esri, and Laser Technology. Superb person to know. So if you link up with Janelle, she is great on these sorts of things. So she dives into a lot of the campaign stuff. And when we started doing workshops with Trimble, we started, I went over and did the workshops live in Idaho, which was awesome. So it was really interesting looking at how they went out to their local markets selling Trimble equipment. So she walks you through the campaign specific things with that. Social media, so we tap into the social media, and of course we tap into sales funnel and how the sales funnel should be set up. We look at those things like prospecting and how you go about prospecting, and also farming. We call it farming, but it's actually the content creation. Again, that taps into the customer journey. And now we don't leave you on your own. So we have a platform on school.com. It's a California-based business. We were on Facebook, and I have a bit of a bugbear with Facebook. I find it quite noisy. It has its place. We work with Leica Geosystems here. They're doing a lot with, for example, the machine control side, forensics. So you find specific groups of people are on there. But one of the things I wanted to do was get rid of that noise and make it simple to support. We call you GMAers if you register as a GMA, a member or a student. You're a bit more mature than a student, but it's a student platform. So we have it so you can actually go on and post questions. So we've welcomed Audrey, for example, the other day from Dublin University. So a lot of people have popped on and said hello. We've got Peter on there. She was asking about social media algorithms. James Pegg, surveyor in the UK, what types of LinkedIn posts work best. So what's quite nice is these guys are replying to each other. So you have people who they don't necessarily ask me or Janelle or Charlie, for example. They go in and say, oh, well, we do this. Have you tried it? We have two companies in here who actually was quite interesting when we first launched it. They're both Belgium surveyors. They're both one-man bands. So they were like, whoa, wait a minute here. Could we be competitors? Well, actually, they both do slightly different jobs. And as I said to them both, focus on your niche, what you're good at, and build on that. So, maybe one day we will have a couple of clashes, but for now we don't have those clashes. And it's whatever you want to contribute to it, so you can actually add stuff to it. We have live Q&As, which are now going to be weekly. So one of the things that the members need support in is to ask me, actually, am I on the right lines with this, Elaine? Is this working? So we had a really good one. Where is it? Oh, I have to go and have a look back. We had a really good one about comparison of drones the other week live, and she was doing a campaign and she's like, right, she's selling a drone equipment. How can I compare? What should I write as a strapline? What will help me sell to surveyors? And what type of surveyor, who am I focusing on? And it was really good because the surveyors actually pitched in, well, I wouldn't buy it from that. I didn't like that strapline. So it actually helped her focus her messaging better to her target audience. So it's a really good way of doing things. So we have a calendar based on there. And then of course, we've gamified, it's got a little gamification on here. And we have the last 30 days of the people who are actually contributing, and we give them a prize. The top 3 people get a prize. So we currently have 29 members in GMA at the moment. And that's me done. I think, unless you have questions.
I was only trying to give you an hour, and you went 2 hours long.
I have rabbited on.
I love it. I love it. Is anybody got specific questions? You have another kind of webinar coming up next month, you said?
Yeah, 23rd. We've not actually launched the landing page yet to sign up, so I can send the link to you. You can send it out to everybody. Yep. But there will be a link coming up. And again, it'll be talking, we'll have something specific, that we can address. And we've done quite a few marketing comms. Janelle's done ones on campaigns, comms again. So if there's anything specific that you guys actually want to know a little bit more about and dig into, then I can then either pull Janelle over, or I can get Hannah over, or even Charlie Wyman. So one of the things that we have in Geospatial Marketing Academy is anybody who purchases we usually have it on the call. We usually have a discovery call. So you can actually sign up to do a discovery call. And the discovery call, then I ask you lots of probing questions to get you thinking about your business. And at the end of those probing questions, then I say to you, right, okay, little overview of what we do. I've given you quite a lot of in-depth today. Do you want to buy it or not buy it? No, I'm not quite ready yet, Lion. That's fine. Or no, thank you. Or yes, please, let's buy it. So usually within that 24-hour period I give you, we also offer 3 extra lessons. So the lessons, and these guys I've got in here. So we have Charlie Wyman, who she used to sell Regal equipment here in the UK. So she's actually a strategic marketing B2B consultant, and she very, very good when it comes to LinkedIn. So one of her expertise is LinkedIn. So we throw in there the LinkedIn. We've got a 5-day LinkedIn challenge that sets you up. It's 10 minutes every day. Implement it with live Q&A. So the live Q&A is recorded, and then you have that to listen back to, which is quite interesting. And then we also work. So Tom Seiler actually recommended. I phoned quite a few of the dealers up quite a few years ago because I was looking for a really good salesperson who could teach sales from a real specific sales. Now, anybody outside the America loves this guy, Paul Riley from Tom Riley Associates. And he's in St. Louis. I think he's St. Louis. Is he St. Louis? Is that where Silo's based? I can never remember. Anyway, brilliant guy. So another person for you to have a look at. So we have 3 specific lessons about prospecting, call planners, that sort of thing. And then of course we have Expose a Ninja on there, Tim Kitchen, and it's all about search engine optimization. So, you know, the specific things in there that we share. Again, they've all worked with somebody within the geospatial sector.
Love it. Anybody? A couple things in the chat. Saw you mentioned about micro drones.
I had a quick question. Have your clients have any myths with like Discord or other social media like Clubhouse or any of those other, you know, not so popular ones?
Yeah, so I was just speaking to Nick earlier today about Discord. I've actually popped on it. It was Gary Vee who actually introduced it to when he was doing it on his platform. I thought, this is interesting. And that is actually something we've got a GKiS survey meeting tomorrow. So I'm going to have a look at that. I tried Clubhouse. It sucked the life out of me. I get very passionate. You probably realize that I'm a bit energetic when it comes to certain things. So I got very excited and I lost days in Clubhouse. And I thought, I have to get off this. This is nuts. I won't get any work done and I'm just yabbering shit. So I've actually come out of Clubhouse.
Yeah,
agreed on that. Agreed on that one. It can suck you in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got to pick and choose.
Yeah, that's right. Said focus your niche, right? Focus your niche.
Stay away.
I love it. Adam had a comment in there about looking at some of the view content under the micro drone stuff. They seem to have very low content considering the production quality. They're only seeing about 150 view counts per video, except for 1 or 2 where they found they have like 3,000 plus. So I would say.
I saw you mention of micro drones and I looked at their YouTube channel. Yeah. Okay. While you presenting, they seem to have very low. Yeah. Okay. So there's some of the things that you're looking at YouTube. I don't know their ins and outs of how their YouTube strategy is. What I've had feedback on is what I've been very impressed with is their landing pages. So if you go on and have a look on their website about the specific content page, they put a lot of questions in as content in the pre-buying journey, which then leads them to certain landing pages. And I came across it because I was really impressed with their series that they were using. I call it the Ice Road Truckers series because that's what I think about every time it pops in, but it's literally about the surveyors and what going out into market. And it's their concept of how they do it. So they're answering specific questions. And Mike, who's the VP of marketing, I was like, can I use this? This is good because it shows it specifically. Now, you're only seeing what's on that side and they might not focus all their efforts on the YouTube channel. I'll go and pick his brains though after this call and see what he actually says. But actually, what is it actually driving? And I know, without giving away too many figures, how many leads they get in. And then we've had discussions before. It's like, if you're getting all those leads in from a webinar, I mean, it's phenomenal what his conversion rate is from his sign up page, from top of funnel to actually that webinar, and then conversion to sales is brilliant. And it's like, how do I improve that conversion rate? Because, for example, the manufacturers that are doing it right, and not all of them do it right, is they have a big problem of the integration of marketing and sales, because traditional ways, marketing and sales don't talk to each other. So they have an issue. So again, going back to what I said previously, they're more likely to then shut it off marketing when it's a downtime. So yeah, so have a look at their website. So you won't know you won't see that sort of stats, but don't always, you know, it doesn't matter if they had 3,000 views, 150 views on counts, whatever video, you know, they could be converting 50% of those views. So it's like it's all their areas getting into top of funnel.
The other thing to consider is the views on just an image will climb, because people will scroll through and it will count that. But if they have to actually watch the entire video for the view to count on a video. So videos will get much lower rate because some people may not spend the time to go all the way through.
Yeah. And also it depends on where they are in the funnel, in the sales funnel, that buying cycle, that customer journey, so if they come across a long format video, it might be too much too soon. But then they might come across something else which could be a really snap 2 seconds. They'll be like, oh, that's really interesting. What is that? Click more. So then they do a bit more research. It's all about those touch points along that customer journey. Yeah.
Perfect. Good information. I love it. We'll let you go to bed since it's 1 o'clock in the morning now.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning. My husband says, don't be noisy when you come into my office, is in the garden.
Oh, okay. Got it. That's awesome. I think we'll end with that. I definitely appreciate you staying up and then running through, and when you do have the page ready, let me know and I'll ship it out to everybody. And
if anybody has questions and stuff, just, you know, you can ping me an email. I'm on LinkedIn, so if you've not linked up with me on LinkedIn, link up with me and take it from there. But yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Brilliant. Night, guys. I'm off to bed.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks, Elaine.
Take care. Bye.